Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime Series, where we add value to people's lives, happening every Wednesday and Thursday on ebizradio.com. You can catch the Lunchtime Series on all your major podcast channels, and to help us grow the channel, add more value to people's lives, please follow, like, and share today's conversation, guys, because we've got marketing and leadership segment. Joining me as per usual, the marketing and communication expert and co-host, Craig Paisley. Craig, how you doing?
Kevin, I'm great. Thank you. Good to be chatting again.
Yeah, I mean, it's last week we had a really interesting topic around the subscription business model and how that could really sort of leverage a whole nother area for business. And it's really got me thinking, guys. If you want to go and check that out, you must go and check it out. There's some really interesting things that you can sort of do to your business and consider for your business on the Lunchtime Series. Craig always comes up with the most amazing connections and things that we haven't thought about in business. So I love that. Craig, but I mean, what are the key takeaways from last week that you could sort of just give us from the subscription business model?
Yeah, Kevin, thanks. Again, it was one of those topics that we hadn't covered before, so it was filled with some nice learnings, and great to see that there was a lot of interest peaked on your side, because there's definitely an opportunity to bring some of that to life. So the key takeaway points are from the article that I came across on chargebee.com, which was titled "The Ultimate Guide to Subscription Business Models." And the article notes the following 6 benefits of the subscription box business model, which include the ability to firstly introduce new products to your audience. A subscription box can be an effective way of introducing new products to subscriber audience. Package the items in question with more other products or other popular products. Point number 2 is attract more customers with a more affordable price point. And if people you're marketing to want your e-commerce products, bundling them together at lower prices is a great way to get those interested people coming back for more. Point 3 was it creates a strong relationship. So due to the recurring nature of these subscriptions, you can obviously offer a variety of products at a more affordable price, which leads to the next point. Importantly, you can lower your cost per acquisition. A repeat business from the same base obviously requires less marketing effort and spend, which inevitably helps reduce your cost of acquisition. A great thing here is it helps you predict your revenue more accurately. So by understanding both the number of subscribers that you currently have and your average churn rate, you're able to much more accurately predict how much money will be coming in over a specified period of time. And lastly, it definitely helps increase customer convenience by offering subscription boxes through your e-com store. You're increasing customer convenience, which in turn improves customer experience. Obviously, that allows people to obtain the products they want at the price they're happy to pay. And those are the key takeaway points from last week, Kevin.
Fantastic, Craig. Thank you, guys. If you want to, like I said, if you want to go and check that out, check it out on the Lunchtime Series. But what are we going to share with the listeners today, Craig?
Yeah, Kevin, we're going to discuss the topic of content strategy today. And I've been working with some clients where content has become such an integral part of the remarketing efforts, and again, it has absolute applicability to your organization. So let's kick off by taking a look at the definitions firstly of what content strategy is. So we learn from the Oxford Languages site that content marketing is a type of marketing that involves the creation and sharing of materials such as video, blogs, social media posts, etc., but it does not explicitly promote a brand, but is intended to stimulate interest in its products and services. According to marketmuse.com blog, content strategy is the ongoing process of transforming business objectives and goals into a plan that uses content as a primary means of achieving those goals. The Market Muse blog continues by noting that in the realm of digital marketing, content encompasses 4 key elements. Important to understand these. So firstly, information. So what are the actual components and contents of your message? They can be factual, they can be practical, they can be entertaining, informative, or some sort of combination of the points. The second core element is context. What is the content supposed to help you and the reader accomplish? Who is the target audience for the content, and why is it actually being published? The third aspect here is the medium. What channel are you publishing the content on, and how does that influence the overall message? Because we know different channels have different objectives, and content is packaged in response to that particular channel. And lastly, the fourth core element here is about form. And is the content text? Is it graphic? Is it audio? Is it video? Is it interactive? Is it virtual reality or augmented reality? All of those important points to consider. So, those are the definitions from Market News. But finally, moving to the marketinginsider.com, Kevin, we learned the following. Content marketing is not the same thing as marketing with content, a hugely important point. It is customer focused, answering important customer questions and meeting their needs and challenges. Content marketing creates a financial asset. It allows businesses to reach, engage, and convert customers they would never have seen by using the keyword customer use and creating the content they consume on your own business website to answer those respective questions. And the last point there is content marketing represents the gap between what we produce as brands and what our audience is actually looking for, and it leads to that quantifiable business value connection in between. Yeah, and those are some of the definitions that help set the context to the topic of content marketing, Kevin.
Great. I mean, it's very interesting that we're talking about this, because I've just recently, in the last couple of months, have become quite specific about why I'm creating content. And even the posts that we do on, because I'm very busy on social media, and
Yes.
but it really is, it's really starting to hone in and really speak to why are you putting this out into the public domain. So and is it really touching, is there a point to the content, right? And I think that's the one thing. The other thing I didn't know, which I recently found, and don't ask me what it is now, so you're gonna have to Google it, but there's an actual website. I think it's called public forthepublic.com or something like that. And what it really speaks to is you can type in your actual content, and or you can what your business is about, and then it sort of spits out what the public is actually searching for on Google, and what your topic of conversations are. So the fact that you're bringing up this is such an important point, I think, because what your content is about, I think it really, really speaks to, getting eyeballs on the actual content. And it's not just a case of saying, well, I think we should talk about this. And it's like, well, that's lovely, but what does your audience need to hear, or what are they searching for? What are they actually typing in, and looking up to know more knowledge about? So I think that's a really specific, good thing.
I'd like to have a look at that site you referenced, because by the sounds of it, what it is, it's an aggregator of the respective topics, and there could be some really good clues in there from a keyword opportunity for yourself to ensure that when you packaging your content is now starting to align more closely to what is actually being searched around that particular topic, Kevin. That's great.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to do. So I want to type in, leadership, and kind of go, okay, cool. What are people searching for, and start creating content around that. And I mean, one of the things that I've just recently done is a talk for the CCMG, and I mean, 6 months ago, I think I shared it with you, was the public needs the future employee needs wings, and I was researching that content and shared it with an audience now recently, and they absolutely loved it, and it was it sort of landed so well, because I was like, okay, cool. So what I'm doing is trying to see what the future looks like the whole time. And even though I collated this talk 6 months ago, I did the talk on last week Tuesday, and it just absolutely landed for them solidly. So again, like finding the right thing to talk about and trying to understand what the future looks like is so relevant.
But again, that's great, because I've obviously read your wings content some time ago, based on the fact that I follow your social media and a really great content. It's now an opportune time for you to get to understand what are the components that got them to lean in and really buy into the content, and see how you can articulate those particular constructs or words even to really enhance the keyword, the SEO ability of that content.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what sort of where I'm thinking. It's just, I'll get to it when I'm not as busy as I am. Great. These definitions are all references terms like online material assets. Can you give us some examples of this and what this stuff means?
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. A lot of assets has come up quite frequently. Online materials always spoken about in this particular topic realm. So HubSpot, which you know, HubSpot.com, which you know is really a good go-to source for content for me, is a great reference in answering this question, Kevin. So there's an article published on the HubSpot.com blog, which was written by Caroline Forsey, entitled "How to Develop Content Strategy in 7 Steps: A Start to Finish Guide." And it specifically addresses the 8 most popular types of content marketing assets that can be created for readers and customers. And so firstly, the list is blog posts, ebooks, case studies, templates, infographics, videos, podcasts, and social media. And I'm sure you applying a lot of those particular assets in your particular business. Yes. So let's take a look at each of these assets or content types in a little bit more detail, Kevin. So the first asset type there is obviously blog posts, and blog posts live on a website and should be published regularly to attract new visitors to the website in question. And the post should always provide valuable content for the intended users, leading the audience to actually share those particular posts on social media and across other websites. So you want to have relevant information that people lean in and consume, but really of such value that they're actually sharing it and moving on. And HubSpot recommends that blog posts should contain anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 words in length, but that you should actually just trial and error to see if your audience actually prefers some of the longer reads or shorter reads. The second asset type that was listed is ebooks. And I love ebooks. They're definitely a good lead generation tool that website visitors can download after submitting a lead form with their contact information. And this is important, that every website must be built to have forms for contact where you can specify the interest at heart. And they're typically longer and more in-depth, and they publish less frequently than blog posts, which are obviously written to attract visitors to the. So the post is there to attract. The ebook is a good in-depth read to take away. And it's important to note that ebooks have a very different purpose at different stages in the buying cycle or customer journey, Kevin. And the article cites a great example that validates the value of an ebook as follows. So firstly, at an awareness level, ebooks help educate the prospect about a certain pain point and are an excellent lead capture tool. So the content should remain introductory and fairly informal. The next is ebooks can then convert leads in the funnel by offering them more useful tools as prospects consider the need more in depth. And the ebook here might actually provide a deeper insight into a particular problem and some kind of solution options to enable resolution of that problem. And then lastly, ebooks further down the sales funnel should actually become more personalized and offer more of the sales content. For instance, some comparison guides and case studies, as they are definitely beneficial for prospects at this particular stage. The third asset type is case studies. Now, the case study allows you to tell your customer and build credibility in the process. And it's important to know that it's probably the most versatile type of content marketing because it can actually take different forms. Firstly, like a blog post, like an ebook, or a podcast, and even a well-defined, highly informative infographic can be packaged as a case study. The key objective of case studies, Kevin, is to demonstrate how your products can actually help in a real-life situation. And if you can reference the companies you work with, like you just did now on your Wings product, that becomes a great case study proposition. And then the fourth asset type here is templates. So templates are very effective content marketing examples because they generate leads while offering tremendous value to your audience. So when you provide the audience with a template tool, you save them time and you help them succeed they're much more likely to engage with your content in the future.
Great. every now and then you kind of like mention stuff that I'm busy doing, and then I go, oh man, I'm so glad that I'm doing this. I'm so glad that I've listened to Craig and I've started doing stuff. And because I currently, like in my newsletter, for example, every week we have a value adds section where we create little value added templates on how to have better conflict, or how to unpack a problem, or and every single week with our the newsletter, we have these little value adds, and it's just to give people something to think about on if they're in their teams or whatever, and they need to unpack information, or they need just insight to something extra. So I'm so glad that I'm listening to you and I'm on point. My next thing here is I'm going to start some infographics.
Absolutely, as you say, the fifth asset type is infographic, and it's an asset that I wholeheartedly believe in, Kevin, because infographics are graphic visual representations of the information, the data, or the knowledge intended to present a very quick, easy, clearly defined a message across there, and they can definitely improve cognition. Important point, and you're acutely aware of this, improving cognition by utilizing these graphics to enhance the human visual system's ability to see patterns and threads.
Yeah.
The sixth asset type is video, and videos are highly engaging content medium and are shareable across all social media platforms and websites, Kevin. Videos do, however, require much bigger budgets, firstly from a financial resource point of view, but also from a time and people resource point of view than written content. But as visual content continues to offer a much bigger ROI, it's definitely a medium worth exploring. And for those listeners that are interested in producing video assets, Kevin, video.com is a really great place to go for great insights and guidance on how to optimize video content in the sales cycle. I subscribe to their newsletter, and the information that is shared is phenomenal. The seventh asset type here is podcasts, something that we're actually quite familiar with. Podcasts help audiences find your brand if they don't have the time or interest in reading content every day. And just to validate the efficacy of podcasts, there was a 10% year-on-year increase in US-based podcast listeners to end 2021. And Kevin, like our show times, if a brand has interesting people to interview or conversations to host, it's definitely worth considering interviews as a key component of the podcast proposition. According to neilschaefer.com, the number of active podcasts and podcast listeners is increasing daily. And as of April 2021, there were a total number of 850,000 active podcasts with more than 48 million episodes in total, Kevin. And if you're looking at the podcast statistics 2020 highlights report, it also notes that there are currently 383.7 million podcast listeners globally now.
And I would just like to say, from that 850,000, we are one of those.
That's correct. It's yes. And in fact, you've got yourself one or two others on there as well. So that's great. Keep going.
Yes.
Yeah. And Kevin, the final asset type here is listed as social media. So once a company or brand has been regularly publishing content to its own website for a while, the opportunity then comes along to actually start developing a strong social media strategy, which can then redistribute that same content on various social channels. And it's important to know here that the content should be repurposed into new formats for each of the social media channels, as well as creating some original content, bespoke content for each platform. Point to note here again is posting on social media is definitely pivotal to amplifying your brand's reach and delivering your content to customers where they spend their time. And social networks obviously include the Facebooks, the Instas, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest, YouTube, and most definitely TikTok.
Craig, so it's I just want to say on this point with the social media is systems. systems. If you're doing anything, if you are creating content, do not go and be the person who goes and sits there and posts it on and takes 2 hours of your day to post it and sort of put it in the right format. There is ways to do that, and systems are really important, really, really important. But Craig, so one of the things that I'm curious about is, does it mean that you can have a successful brand having one of these, or does it mean, you should be, if you could do all of these, you're far more likely to be pushing success out into the world? Is there a measurement to any of this?
They're definitely metrics. The digital platforms that you use on a daily basis have got metrics in place, embedded in the back end there. It's critical. You don't have to apply all of them to guarantee any form of success. Whether you're a B2C brand or a B2B brand, your use of the social media channels will be quite different. You might not need, in fact, some of the B2B brands that I've been working with just don't have Facebook in their repertoire at all. They're very much positioned around LinkedIn, Twitter, and a lot are moving to YouTube. Pinterest, Insta doesn't fall into their repertoire either, where on the B2C side and the CPG environments, the full spectrum comes to life, and TikTok playing a really important role there, based on the engagement with the brand and the product on a daily basis. So based on where you are in your particular business life cycle, based on whether you're a B2B or B2C brand, all of those particular inputs will define which of the networks are relevant to you at a particular point in time.
That's fascinating, because I think that's part of what I think that you really need to sort of hone in what you're comfortable with and sort of use that most effectively, and then from that branch out into where you could actually do more. But I think it's a nice way to kind of just measure. Okay, so I'm already creating blogs. All right, cool. What is the next thing, or how can I take a blog and turn it into a post, and then sort of you could grow like that as your business grows.
But that's great, because there's a perfect segue into a piece that I wanted to just pick up on now, and to end the bits on content assets or content types, Kevin. I quickly want to reference a diagram that I came across on marketinginsidergroup.com. The article, which is titled "What is content marketing really?" Notes that for content marketing to work, it must be well executed, which means that this includes developing a content marketing strategy. And that plays into the point that we've just spoken about. You need an effective content marketing strategy to understand which of those touch points actually have relevance to your business. So the diagram in the article notes 5 steps as part of an effective content strategy, Kevin. So the first is to look at content alignment. So align your content with the customer journey and identify what topics, needs, and questions will be addressed in your content. The second point is your content audit. Audit your existing content to determine what can be used as is, what must be updated, and what actually needs to be created from scratch in moving forward. The third point is your production plan. And so determine the genre and format of each content piece, and then identify who will actually be the subject matter expert, the authors or other contributors. Then implement your performance measures, determine the objectives of each piece of content and how the performance will be tracked and measured. And then obviously your distribution plan is the answer to your very question, is identify what online and offline channels will be used to get your content in front of your constituents, members, and prospects moving forward.
Craig, I'm sorry, point number 2 says content audit, right? And I think that's where people sometimes make the mistake and I'm guilty of it, because as we've done this podcast and we've recorded this, I've learned and I've grown and I think we don't often audit what it is we're actually putting out there. And I think that's a really crucial step to consider. as much as you want content alignment, you also you need to audit what it is you're doing, so that you
Yes.
really own and make sure that the content is relevant to exactly what you're speaking to. And it's not always easy, but definitely a good step to keep in mind when you're doing this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, Craig, I mean, as we close the show today, what are the key takeaways for the listeners about this conversation? Because I think it's a very relevant one, and I think there's some points that you've made here that are very relevant to any brand out there needing to step up their content game.
Well, firstly, Kevin, there is so much information out there to reference that we've only just scratched the surface. But I've scratched the surface from a really good source, because HubSpot.com is a phenomenal platform to really help people get into the framework of understanding content. But that said, I actually want to reference marketingprofs.com article titled "Moving from Content Marketing to Content Strategy: 4 Actions to Take" as the key takeaway points from our conversation today, Kevin. And the article was written by Brent Keltner, and we learned, to quote from the article, the following: that content strategy is the single most important tool for bringing a company's unique value into every buyer and customer interaction. And as mentioned, it addresses the 4 actions that can actually help the marketing team shift their content strategy and hopefully accelerate their revenue growth, Kevin. These actions are noted as follows. So firstly, start with buyer value. Marketing departments inevitably organize their content roadmap around content categories like the lists that we had, listing out for blogs, webinars, white papers, case studies, infographics, etc. Content should, however, be arranged and tagged according to the buyer outcomes. And that could be in a way of helping customers increase their own revenue, helping customers reduce their own costs, helping them drive process inefficiencies, improving the business insights, optimizing their staff productivity, terms that you work with on a daily basis. So it's about understanding and tagging the content to buyer outcomes and relevance. And these are the areas of buyer value, and connects them to the specific buyer's goals, creating that content pathway, and that obviously helps tell a story about buyer value. So with that in mind, it will lead to a much higher content engagement by both buyers and sales teams within the organization. The second point is to prioritize customer stories. Customer stories and case studies are in essence the most important content type, but these are often underused in the content strategy, Kevin. So while case studies rank only 4th out of the top 6 content types, based on a study by Marketing Profs and the Content Marketing Institute, they should theoretically be the number 1 content type for any marketing team. Because customer stories, again, help eliminate a focus built around product pitching, as the stories put the company's product or service capabilities directly into the context of a specific customer's needs, and it shows how that product or service capability can actually help solve that customer's problem in a real way. So importantly, customers become the heroes of the story, not the company or the company's products. The third point here is to optimize content for the buyer journey. So a lot of marketing teams think that content is just for marketing purposes and lead generation, when actually the content strategy has a maximum impact on a company's revenue growth when the content pathways are all linked to that buyer value, and where they actually support the sales and customer service success conversations across the customer lifetime journey. Content does, however, need to align to the amount of time buyers are willing to spend learning about the company and its capabilities at each of the phases in that buyer journey, Kevin. And lastly, make content strategy a collaborative process. And I really appreciate this point, because many companies make the mistake of developing content strategies with a marketing department alone, whereas the sales teams inevitably are communicating with potential customers on a regular basis, and having sales teams actually co-develop content themes and messaging with marketing leads to much stronger content pathways that actually align more effectively with specific buyer goals, Kevin. And those are the key takeaway points for today.
Craig, just on that last point with a collaborative process, we saw that last year with Hollard, where they were teaming up with smaller businesses, but
Yes,
the impact that it had and the attention that it got was absolutely profound. And to think that you could have a small brand and a big billboard for your brand, but in that collaborative process, it got the attention it deserved, just purely based on the fact that they took a spin on things and didn't do the usual, oh, look at us, we're this company. They made it about someone else. But I think the collaboration process is what made that campaign so successful. I think that hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, Kevin, the collective input of individuals with different mind states and different points of view and different energies coming together create a much more cohesive whole. The sum of parts is what the sum of the parts is. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Sorry, let me put it that way. The whole is greater than the sum of the parts. And in this instance, when you are co-creating and you're having teams who understand the engagement level across the customer buyer cycle, you've got to leverage that collective input.
Absolutely. Guys, if you want to catch the Lunchtime series, it happens every Wednesday and Thursday on ebizradio.com. And you can check us out on all major podcast channels under Lunchtime series. And Craig, thank you for joining us today. Thank you for sharing this information, because I really love the fact that I think a lot of people out there wanting to step up their business, especially in the times we live in. This is one way to really ignite something. So thanks for sharing this, and I will check you next week.
Yeah, look forward to it. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Craig. Chat to you soon. Cheers.